Hey there, my name is Zach. I'm 23 years old Russian who left Russia because of the war against Ukraine. And today we are going to observe Russian news, what has been happening in Russia lately. Without further ado, let's go. A 26 years old Sophia Cova was arrested in Moscow because of allegedly propaganda of LGBT. Basically, what she's done is published a video. She didn't even publish it actually. She reposted a video on the social media called VK, which is the Russian analog of Facebook. She reposted the video, and when you repost the video, you save it to your own videos, but you don't publish it. And that video, there was two men who were kissing. And for that, 3 years after she published that, Russian government literally came after her, and police spent some amount of man hours to track her down and arrest in the metro in Moscow. They charged her with a felony and fined her with 100,000 rubles, which is about $1,100. This is just outrageous. Well, firstly, because she didn't even publish the video, she just reposted it, which shouldn't be a crime in its own. I mean, just overall, the so-called propaganda of LGBT shouldn't be a crime. But in Russia in 2023, they made any kind of propaganda of LGBT a crime. Her case doesn't even make sense by Russian law. In Russian law system, there is a core principle of the whole system. It sounds in Russia like «У закона нет обратной силы», which translates to English that the law doesn't have a reverse power. It's meaning that if a crime was committed before the law was passed, it's not considered a crime, because at the moment when that action took place, it wasn't a crime in the books. But in this case, Sophia, she reposted the video 3 years ago, and only after 2 years after she done this, the law was passed. It became a crime, but she didn't do it 3 years ago. It wasn't a crime 3 years ago, but she's still being charged with a felony because of that. It just doesn't make sense at all. Moreover, in this mystical fight against gay people, Russia literally banned LAN tournaments in the computer game called League of Legends, which is really popular in the US, in the West, and pretty much in Russia too. And the only reason they banned this specific game is because of this character, which you can see on the screen. I think his nickname is Xante or something like that, and eventually he was presented in the game as a black gay person. And Russia found some kind of propaganda of LGBTQ in this character, and that's why they decided to ban the whole game. Well, at least competitions, not the game. The game is still available to play, but the whole competition is banned basically because of that. It's really funny how the Russian government really thinks that if you are going to be shown the fact that gay people exist, you are going to turn gay yourself. I really don't think this is the way it works, but the Russian government are pretty sure that if their children are going to see that there are gay people, they exist, it's gonna change their children and they're gonna make them gay. Or I really don't think this is the way it works, but this is what's been happening in Russia past I would say 10 years. Speaking of YouTube, those who has been following Russian news know that the Russian government started to slow down YouTube on purpose because some of the Z propagandists started to get banned. Well, a lot of them got banned at the start of the war, and recently, like some Z singers like Oleg Gazman or Shaman, they got banned, so their channels just got deleted basically. And the Russian government started to slow it down so the Russian people can't watch other anti-war YouTubers like Navalny's team or Maxim Katz or Khodorkovsky or any other ones. It's kind of funny and hypocritical because whatever the Russian government is trying to do to make the life of their own people worse, they're always trying to persuade people, oh, it's not us. It's not we are who are the evil trying to take your YouTube away from you. No, this is the American company Google. They left Russia and they are not updating hardware on the servers in Russia. And that means that there is more traffic coming in and there is a bottleneck. Our providers, they can't work with the Google's hardware, and because of this bottleneck, your data, your traffic is gonna get slower. I mean, whenever you watch YouTube, it's gonna get slower, it's gonna get buffering, blah blah blah. You can only watch it in a quality of 360p and then 144p, and then maybe not even would be able to load a video. And so the Russian government is trying to portray like, oh, it's not us, it's the Google who's doing the thing. Well, firstly, this is complete BS because there is a really easy fix how to avoid slowing down on YouTube. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on the phones because you have to install a couple of programs on a OS that's being operated where YouTube is being operated, but it's easily solvable on Windows and Linux. I'm not sure about Mac OS. It basically you install a couple of programs that make changes to firewall, and that's pretty much it. Basically, it's an easy fix, even for a user, and of course for an internet provider companies that would be a really easy solution. Russian internet providers were trying to faster YouTube for their own users, and you would ask why? Why? Because the Russian government want YouTube gone. Why would internet providers would like to make the speed of the internet faster? Well, because not all the companies, especially smaller ones or middle-sized companies, not all of them are owned by oligarchs or Putins. It's still, a lot of them are owned just by private individuals who are trying to make a buck. Some of the Russians were like, why do I even need internet? Why do I need a cable internet nowadays if I can watch YouTube? Like, why? So they started to cancel their contracts with those companies. And eventually, because of that, the companies just started to lose money and lose clients. And of course, they don't want to do that. That's a business. Their main goal is to make money. Even in Russia, it's still a capitalist society. The internet providers started to make it faster. But here comes the Russian Ministry of Censorship of the internet. It's called Roskomnadzor. And Roskomnadzor started to threaten internet providers to take their license away from them so they wouldn't be able to work anymore if they are going to make YouTube faster. So the Russian people would understand, oh, okay, so maybe, my neighbor has another internet provider, and he's getting YouTube not slowing down, and mine is like Rostelecom, which is basically the biggest internet provider, which is owned by the government mostly. I mean, it's a private company, but it's tied up to the oligarchs who are friends of Putin. And oh, okay, Roskomnadzor is slowing down. Why don't I switch to this guy and do that? It's completely hypocritical how the Russian government is trying to persuade people that, oh, it's not us, it's the Americans, the evil Americans who wants to take YouTube from you, who wants to take YouTube from your children so they can't watch cartoons, who want to take it from the school kids who can't watch the lectures on YouTube, blah blah blah. Well, lectures, yeah, it's mostly Minecraft let's plays, but whatever. Here's an interesting paper related to slowing down of YouTube. Basically, some of the activists in Russia, they wanted to have a protest in Moscow against slowing down of YouTube. By the Russian law, if you want to have a rally, a protest, gathering of people, you have to ask for a permission from a local government to do that. So if you want to have a protest in the center of Moscow, here you go, write a special request to the city of Moscow's administration. Hey, my name is this and this. I want to have a rally on that day, this time. It's gonna last that long. It's so many people supposedly gonna come to the protest. The topic of the protest is gonna be this and that. This is literally mandatory. You have to fill out all of that information for the authorities to let you have your rally or protest. And as you guessed, about 99% of those requests are being declined. But what's the most hypocritical, I mean, I think the word hypocritical describes the Russian authority in the best way. The most hypocritical is that the reason why they declined your request to have a protest is because of COVID restrictions. The country that was one of the last ones to cure for COVID at all is the country who is still using COVID as a reason to cancel protests that can possibly criticize Putin and his authority. And here in this paper, you can see it says Правительство Москвы, which means the government of Moscow. It says that we received a request to have a protest on the 17th of August from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the academic Sakharova Prospect, which is some kind of like a square where you can have a protest. And they say that, there's going to be up to 30,000 participants. We inform you that because of COVID, we cannot give you permission to have this rally, to have this protest. And they also threaten you in the last paragraph that in case you are still going to have this protest, you are going to be persecuted. VV Aleynik, that's the guy who replied to this request. And what's even more hypocritical that Shaman, the Russian propaganda singer, can have a protest in front of the American embassy and gather a lot of people and not get arrested there and not get canceled because of the so-called COVID restrictions in the year of 2024. And there's going to be a lot of people, and they are literally in the public street over here in front of the American embassy. By the way, I actually have been here, and it's not like a private street. Okay, it's just a street. Okay, it's a public place. And you're having a protest or a rally or whatever with a Soviet or Russian and freaking Russian Empire flags, which is okay, whatever. But it's just hypocritical that they cancel one protest that criticized the government because of COVID, but at the same time, the other ones are not getting canceled, the ones who are in favor of the current establishment. Basically, this whole protest is because they are dissatisfied with Shaman being banned from YouTube. So they came out to the American embassy to, state that they are against it, as some of the other Russians who wanted to state that they are against an overall slowing down of YouTube in Russia, or, they are against what the Russian government is doing to YouTube, and they were not allowed to in the streets. Those guys, they were allowed. It seems like the Russian government is also trying to just take all hardware that Google has installed in Russia, because they've asked all internet providers to list all hardware they have installed by Google and give all this data to the government, to the Roskomnadzor, which is the censorship agency, which means only one thing in my opinion. They just want to take it down so it wouldn't be accessible for any Google services in Russia at all. Going back to the gay propaganda law in Russia, right now the Ministry of Health in Russia offered to ban transgender people from being able to drive a car, being able to get driver's license. The reason is because they think that being transgender is the same as being a schizophrenic. And yeah, we don't want schizophrenic people on the roads. And they are literally making it equal being a transgender as having schizophrenia or amnesia or dementia or whatever. This is just a total hatred to anything not straight. And in the modern world, in a world where we all see that those people exist and they should have the same rights as everyone else, the Russian government is literally trying to ban them from being able even to operate a car, which is, in my opinion, should be a freaking basic right, like a basic human right, okay? The Supreme Court of Russia has offered to make changes to the law which would allow to stop investigation in case a person who is a suspect of a felony would sign a contract to go fight in Ukraine. And before the person's crime was fully investigated and the person was put in jail or charged with whatever, if the person says, okay, I'll go fight, I'll go kill you some Ukrainians, is that fine? Are we good? And the Russian government will be like, yeah, we're good, yeah. You can do any kind of crimes. If you are going to sign a contract and go kill Ukrainians after that, we're cool. It doesn't really change much, to be honest, because nowadays you can get charged, you go to jail, and then you sign a contract and go to fight anyway. And it's just a meat grinder, so good luck surviving that. But some allegedly survive and come back, and then they rape and kill other people, civilians, and oh my god, there's gonna be, it seems like more and more of those people are going to, get this fate. Actually, I have a really good friend of mine, I'm not gonna call any names, but he recently got charged with basically he had some weed on him and he was caught by the police, and eventually he's getting put in jail, and I know that they are offering him a deal like, hey, you can go and fight in the war against Ukraine, and all the charges are going to be taken, and in about half a year, you'll be free. You can go home. And he's not taking it because, well, 10 years in jail is better than just death, I guess. But yeah, that's happening quite often. Even I mean, some of my acquaintances, whom I know, they are going through this. Yeah. Here's an interesting one. Now, no professors, no students, no scholars in Russia cannot cite books or research papers or anything really published by the so-called unfriendly countries. And the list of unfriendly countries in those universities is only two: United States and United Kingdom. Basically, you just cannot use anything foreign in your research, which is really stupid. I mean, well, not like a lot of smart things are being done in Russia nowadays, but this is extremely stupid for a dictatorship. I mean, if you want to have a successful dictatorship, I mean, there's not really successful dictatorships for the whole nation, but I mean, if Putin want to have a successful dictatorship, where all the people are going to be his servants and peasants, he needs those people to be smart enough, to be educated enough to, build weapons, to do whatever, so the Russian economy wouldn't collapse. But now they are literally taking the opportunity from the students, from the university professors, from the researchers to cite, so basically to use any kind of foreign information for their own research or for their own, like, I don't know, paper, essay, whatever. What's even more funny that they have allowed to do that in a way, but in a really funny way. Basically, if you just have to use some kind of foreign source, there is nothing else, you can't find anything from the so-called friendly countries, what you can do, you can use it, but make a name for it. In your cited page list, you have to make up a name for it and list like it's from a friendly country. Just make sure it doesn't say that this page is from the United States or United Kingdom. I found this interesting video on the Russian internet, which is allegedly is saying that in Kursk Oblast, in the region where Ukrainians are having their special military operation, okay, there is a lot of soldiers who are being sent there from all over the Russia, and in this video we can see a school. Well, first of all, let's see what it says. So it says a 2nd of September 2024. This is how Russian soldiers are based in Kurchatov School, which is a little village in the Kursk region. And they say that in one room, kids are being taught, and in another one, soldiers are drinking alcohol. So that's showing allegedly a teacher who is, having a class. Unfortunately, we can't see kids. So that's why I'm kind of not sure how real this video is. And then, literally in the next room, we can see this drunk guy, freaking soldier having a bottle of something and a glass of some kind of yellow liquid, which I wouldn't think it's a piss or a apple juice. I would bet it's a beer. And if we look up, there is a second guy with a bottle, drinking some beer, another bottle that looks like a beer bottle to me. And looking at the overall room, I mean, at the floor, at the windows, I mean, the kind of design, it looks like a school to me, because, well, I've studied in the Russian school, okay, and I've studied actually in a lot of schools. I think I've studied in about 8 schools my whole life in different cities, mostly because my parents were moving around because of jobs opportunities or whatever. And yeah, it looks like a regular school to me. There is some kind of blackboard on the right. It looks to me there is a TV on top, which looks exactly like a school should look like in Russia, with a blackboard and a TV on top. It's pretty common. So yeah, it might be true, and if it is, this is outrageous. I mean, not just, well, firstly, military is being based in a school, in a civilian target. So basically, if Ukrainians want to kill Russian soldiers, which would be allowed in the war conditions, they have to strike a school, which they wouldn't really. And so the Russian government is doing this to not lose soldiers, which is outrageous, and that should be a war crime, and I bet it is. I'm not a international law expert, but I'm pretty sure that should be a war crime. And moreover, they're drinking alcohol in the same freaking school where there's little kids are being taught. Interesting, really interesting. I don't know how real this video is. So far I haven't seen anything claiming it's not real. So yeah, I think it is what it is. This is a post on the Russian social media called VK. It's made by the government of Permsky Krai. What is being said in this post is that in the city of Prikamya, which is a little town in Primorsky Krai, families whose father is a participant of the war against Ukraine can get extra money for making children, but only if you are a participant of the war. So basically, if you are having a child from a veteran or an ex criminal who got sent to the war, or just a regular soldier or a mobilized soldier, you can get 127,000 rubles, which is about 12 or 1300 of dollars, which is kind of funny because they are trying to make all this bastards who fought in the war to make more children. And they are, I mean, it's kind of funny how Russia is trying to build this new elite, this new class. They trying to form a middle class out of veterans of the war, out of Z people. And well, there is not a lot of people, okay, in Russia who are extremely Z and who are fighting the war against Ukraine, but they're trying to make him like respected citizens. They are trying to make them teachers. They literally, there is already not just a few, but many cases when veterans of the war against Ukraine, like, the ones who are not going back to the front lines because they got wounded or become disabled or whatever, they are becoming teachers in schools for kids. They are becoming professors in universities. They are teaching kids how to, like, history. They teaching history like ex freaking criminals. And I mean, it's not just fairy tales, it's the reality. And this is just I mean, it's kind of sad for the future of the Russian society if you are trying to make those people to be the core of the society, the middle class of the society. What kind of society is it going to be in, like, let's say 20 years? I don't even want to think about it, to be honest, because it only makes me sad. But here you go, one of the examples how Permsky Krai is trying to make those families in this Z class, we call it this way, Z class, to make more babies. We'll see if it's gonna work. I doubt it. Past couple of weeks, there was different elections in Russia. There was governors' elections. There was also Moscow parliament elections. I mean, no surprises. I mean, Russia don't really have elections. I don't think I should spend any attention really telling you about the results of the elections, because it's all rigged anyway, and there is no surprises. All the pro-Putin's members got elected, or governors. Unless Putin doesn't want any change of the governor, none of them actually get changed. They all win elections all the time, unless Putin is not happy with them, and then they go away. But there has been a couple of outrageous cases which I think are worth attention. Well, firstly, the Russian government started to use digital systems of voting, which is really sus. And you would think, oh, come on, Zach, elections are rigged anyway, like, why would they bother? No, they actually bother, because right now, by Russian law, any kind of person can register as an observer on elections, and they are a big pain in the butt for those people who are in those electoral committees are rigging the elections on the local low level. And observers are going to observe elections just to be in the pain of the butt of those people who are serving Putin. It's been a big problem for the establishment for a long time. They've decided, well, we're gonna switch. We're gonna, we're living in the 21st century. We are such a modern nation. We are going to implement a digital ballot. So you can vote digitally on your phone or on computer. Go on the website called Gosuslugi, translated as governmental services. Do over there. You don't have to go anywhere. Perfect. Sounds amazing on paper, but the reality is that it's extremely easy for the government to rig those elections, and no observers can get access to the servers, to the data. There is no way to actually double check whether elections were real or not. You can still go and vote on a paper ballot. But one of the communist politicians, Nikolai Volkov, he was promoting this idea among his voters that they should vote on a piece of paper instead of digitally, because this way is going to be harder for them to rig the results. And you know what? He was threatened with a felony. Yeah, they are threatening him with the felony of stopping the electoral protests, which is it's kind of funny. Well, basically, the Russian government wants everyone to vote digitally, so they don't have to spend a lot of money trying to rig the elections. Another example of chaos, and just I don't even know the word. I don't even know what kind of word can describe elections in Russia nowadays. But yeah, just look at that video, okay? Pay attention. Oh, just look at that video and pay attention to the guy on the left in this white short. He came up to this guy. He's trying to take his cup. He's trying to take his cup, and now he gave him a cup. He came to that guy and threw it in his face. And apparently there was like really hot tea in the cup. And that guy is going after him. So let's think. I'll give you a couple seconds. Would you guess who is this person on the left who got tea in his face, like boiling hot tea in his face? And who is that person who came up to some kind of random ass dude, took his cup with tea, and basically poured in some other guy's face? Okay, your time is up. This guy on the left is an observer, one of those people I told you about a couple of seconds ago, who is basically observing elections, making sure there is no rigs. And now he's on the break, just having a cup of tea or whatever. And this guy on the right is literally ahead of the county. He is literally part of the local government. He's the head of the local government. And because of that guy on the left, observers, being pain in the butt, he literally just decided to pour some boiling water in his face because he's just pissed off on how much you are preventing us from rigging the elections. Bastard. It's kind of sad, to be honest, because the guy on the left, he got some serious injuries on his face. Boiling hot water, okay, on your face, not gonna do any good. And eventually he went to the police to press charges. Do you think police is gonna do anything to the head of the county? I doubt it. I really don't. I don't think so. Just recently, there was a big attack on Moscow. At least 144 drones were sent towards the direction of Moscow. Not all of them reached. And actually interesting, the person who is recording the video is a rapper called Bruto, which I used to listen when I was a teenager. I know he is actually against the war. He made a anti-war song about it. But it doesn't really matter. Are you against the war or not? If your country is at war, you are in potential danger. And so yeah, his apartment got hit during the night. Let's see what he has to say and what he has to show. It's such a beautiful sunset.
Очень красивое небо, да, ребят? Это Раменская, высоковольтная, моя самая первая квартира. Я давно сюда не приезжал, просто сегодня. Вот соседний дом. Вот что на земле творится.
So yeah, basically a couple of civilian buildings got hit. We know about one person who died and about 14 who got injured, which is surprisingly not as much as it could be. So yeah, drones are reaching Moscow now. I really would like that, in a war between different countries, non-civilians would be killed. But unfortunately, this is the realities of the war. Both countries make mistakes. Both countries do it on purpose. I don't know whether it was made on purpose or not. But yeah, that's worth attention. I don't think this should happen with civilians. It definitely doesn't make them more anti-war. I would say this guy Bruto, who is actually an anti-war, he's not a really anti-war activist by any means. No, he's just a rapper. But he stated his position in his songs that he's against the war, and unfortunately, you can still be a target without even knowing you are. Speaking of education, the Ministry of Enlightenment, that's how they call the Ministry of Education, the education department, they have published this document in Russian. This document, which is basically given more instructions how to teach geography. And in Russia, geography is a relatively big subject, not like in the United States. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna joke about Americans and geography in general, but whatever. They made different changes to different so-called spheres of geography. What is interesting, they have added a lot of information about Iran. For example, here it says in the topics of foreign Asia, among the countries on which we reviewed different traits of economical and geographical locations, resources, population, farming of the countries of foreign Asia, we are going to add Iran. So before that, they were mostly observing Kitai, which is China, uh, India, and Japan. But now they're also including Iran. And they mention the reason is because it's a strategical partner of Russia. So now kids in Russia are going to study more about Iran so they would know who is a real strategic partner of Russia. Tajikistan recommended its own citizens not to go to Russia now. And mostly that's because of enormous hatred towards people in Tajikistan and Russia. Mostly because of xenophobia and, well, because of the terrorist attack of Crocus City Hall, where almost 145 people died. Because of that terrorist attack, so many immigrants from Tajikistan to Russia start to be just freaking hated in Russia big time. And this is, I mean, it's kind of sad. I know personally people from Tajikistan who lived in Russia. Not all of them are extremely fundamentalist Muslims, and not all of them are terrorists. But because of that, they are going to generalize, and this hatred towards immigrants from post-Soviet countries like Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan is growing, which is it doesn't really stick to the whole narrative of Russia and of Z people. Russia wants to be the Soviet Union. You know, it wants to have all those nations living together in the Russian world, and they want to have enough manpower to be able to stand against the West. But at the same time, they are doing everything to get the immigrants from Tajikistan, for example, to go back home and never come back there because they are being extremely hated and there is a lot of limitations. Like they can in some of the regions of Russia, people from Tajikistan literally cannot work in, let's say, taxi or in any kind of service because they are just from Tajikistan. And even if they are Russian citizens, it might be a problem for you. I'm not even talking about the whole xenophobic thing. Like, for example, when I was trying to find an apartment in Moscow with my Azerbaijani friend who was literally born in Russia, who is a Russian citizen. But because his father is Azerbaijani, he looks Azerbaijani, even though he doesn't have an accent. He's not even religious, he's an atheist. But because he looks like Azerbaijani, it was extremely hard for us to rent an apartment. I would call myself and was be like, hey, I'm looking for an apartment. I'm a student, blah, blah, blah. But I also have a roommate and he's Azerbaijani. He's also a student. And as soon as I told my friend is Azerbaijani, oh my gosh, people just hung up and say like, no, I'm not dealing with any like immigrants or whatever. He's not even an immigrant, but people literally refuse renting. Russia is extremely xenophobic towards people from there. And this is just contradicts to whatever the government is trying to build up. And most of the Z's, like, Z Telegram channels, they are extremely anti-immigrant. They are pro-white nation or whatever. And it's just funny, what are they fighting for? Nobody knows. The so-called Russian world, nobody knows what the hell is the Russian world. Because everybody has different definitions, and a lot of those definitions are contradictory to each other. Imagine you're going on the Facebook marketplace or in Craigslist or whatever other platform or on eBay, and you see an advertisement with a job offering, and the advertisement of the job offering is called, the account is called Zov of the Motherland, like call of the motherland with a Z and V letters. And you see all this. So here we got different job opportunities for Russians being published on a local marketplace. And here you can be a driver of a semi truck at the special military operation for 400,000 of rubles a month, which is a lot of money, I'll tell you. Here, that's hilarious actually, because it says "доброволец" in Russian, which means volunteer. "Доброволец на СВО", volunteer to special military operation. And you are going to get paid almost $4,500 a month, which is a lot of money to Russia. A lot. People are not making even like 600 a month, barely. So, but what's funny, they call it a volunteer to the special military operation, but you're gonna get paid 6 times of a average salary in Russia. Okay, volunteer. Okay. So here they also hiring a tankist, well, basically an operator of a tank with the same salary, another volunteer slash contract, and a svezist. Great, great. Absolutely, yeah. I might as well look up for use TV and might as well just sign up to be a tank operator. Cool. That was the most interesting news I found and I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for watching this video. I'll try to publish more of this in the future. As usual, don't forget to support Ukraine. Ukrainians are protecting themselves and fighting for their independence. Also, there are ways to support the channel. There is a PayPal link down in the description below. There is also Patreon, which is the best way to support me. Again, thanks for watching the video and see you in the next ones.